Welcome to the Aju. I'm your host, Beef Loaf. This show is being sponsored by our friends Punky's Pizza and Pasta, located at 2600 South Walls, my personal favorite eatery in the neighborhood. They have the best selections of pizzas and pastas, as well as sandwiches and salads of any spot in Bridgeport. Currently, they have what they are calling the Pizza Happy Hour. Mondays and Tuesdays only, 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. You order a pizza from Punky's, and you get 50% off. Yes, you heard that correctly. 50% off of pizzas ordered Mondays and Tuesdays between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. How in the world can you get 50% off the best pizza in Bridgeport? The Pizza Happy Hour. Hit the website, punkyspizza.com, for all your carryout or delivery needs, or to cater your next party. You can also call 312-842-2100. The Scarlotta family will take care of you. Punky's Pizza and Pasta. This show is also powered by you, the one-way supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat, because that's how we get paid, and that's how we continue to make the content you know and love. Tonight's guest. He's one of your favorite guests on the show and also one of mine. He's an agent of chaos on White Sox Twitter. Will also be one of the sharpest minds I know thinking critically about the team. And that's not even to mention his allegedly enormous genitalia. Alex Rude, welcome to the Aju, my friend.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You find out something new about someone every day. I love it. So I wanted to have you on. We had talked about doing this because I wanted to do some trade deadline stuff with the MLB draft has just concluded. We'll give a little thought at that at the back of the show, but it's just concluded. So now the GMs can focus away from the draft and onto the trade deadline. It's one of the most fun parts of any baseball season. And the MLB trade deadline has changed a lot over the years. Yeah. It's truncated a little bit these days where you get a lot of action these last 2 weeks in the month of July. And not as many big names, but it seems to be a lot more activity. So I wanted to go in that direction and break down basically everyone possible that I think the White Sox might trade. We may miss a guy or two, but I want to just go straight down the line and do it. Are you ready to go?
Yeah. I don't think there will be much action White Sox-wise as previous years, but we'll go through it all. I was looking back at our notes from last year when we did this. We set the over-under at 8.5 players traded. I would be surprised if we get to like 4.
Yeah. When you look at it, you're like, man, is there really need for all these guys? And we're going to get into that here in a second. So the first guy up is the guy that, to me, we've been talking about on the One Way podcast. My thought is, I don't know why this guy hasn't been traded yet, and that's Mike Tauchman. Mike Tauchman, first up, Alex, what teams are the best fit for Mike Tauchman? What are we looking at here?
Tauchman has turned out to be one of Getz's best moves, exceeding any possible expectations. Going from being non-tendered last year to be one of the few bright spots in this season, like non-prospect related. Absolutely. He's a great platoon bat this year, and the Sox for once have been good at limiting his exposure versus left-handed pitchers. He'll likely continue in the platoon role wherever he gets traded and could be useful as a bench bat in October. But in terms of fit, while most teams can always use like an extra bench bat like Tauchman, there's one team that stood out to me in terms of perfect fit, and that's the Houston Astros. Nice. Their GM said at a press conference a few weeks ago that the left-handed bat is one of their biggest priority for this deadline, and the outfield is probably just looking at their roster, the outfield is probably the best way to do that, so they can move Altuve back into the infield because it's Gavin Sheets level out there. But it's
tiny Gavin Sheets out there in left field.
Yeah, I didn't realize how right-handed heavy they are. I was reading just when I was looking up potential fits. I think it was Jeff Brett up. They're on pace to have the most right-handed bats of all time, just because they literally only had Victor Caratini since Alvarez has been out most of the year. So
right.
that need for a left-handed bat is very desperate. So that's why I think they're the best for Tauchman.
Yeah, you forget. You always think of them as the balanced team all throughout when they were very good. But, you lose Tucker when you trade him to the Cubs. And then, Alvarez has been bad to start the year, and then he's been hurt kind of the rest of it. It's like filling in spots. Yeah. I don't know what his timeline is his injury. So, I don't know how urgent a team would be wanting to get someone in here in this case for them. Do you know?
I'm not sure about the timeline, but even with Jordan back, their entire position players are right-handed besides him and Caratini is a switch hitter. So even with Jordan, the left-handed bat is probably like a glaring need for them.
All right, so Tauchman, last I checked, was something like 129 WRC plus, left-handed hitter. He is also 34, Alex. What is a likely return for someone if the White Sox were to trade this guy?
He technically does have an extra year of control next year because he was non-tendered. That could help with the value, but I think I'm going to go with like comps of recent trades. I think the best comp for this is the DeYoung trade from last year. It's like they got back a minor league reliever. It's platoon pads, bench pads don't really have that much value on the trade market. So at this point, it's like just get whatever you can for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the ARB eligibility for 2026, but he'll be 35 years old. That's why I was hoping the White Sox don't use that as a bargaining chip, because that's dumb. He'll be an old man. Like maybe he would keep him if he was here, but I don't think that's something that adds value to the profile there, because next year's team, whoever it is, Sox or otherwise, are going to look at that guy as like, well, we have a journeyman here that we don't necessarily have to pay right now, and we could just launch him out there and re-sign him if we need to.
So I think that's just more reflective of like how little the Sox have to trade. That one extra year at Tauchman at 35 is one of their best selling points for an asset. But yeah,
it's tough. Absolutely brutal. All right. So what do you think, Alex? Does he stay or does he go? Is he getting traded or is he not getting traded from the White Sox?
He's gone.
He's gone. Deuces, my friend. You're out of here.
It's been fun.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. It's been fun. Thanks for the memories, Mike.
See you later. You performed well. I mean, I agree with you on one of Getz's best. And one of the things I was asking the boys is, why do you think he hasn't been traded yet? Is it the injury risk? Is it more that when you're buying bench bats, you just wait till the end to buy the bench bat because they have limited utility in the couple weeks that you might gain from having them? Or what do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's just because it's the bench bat, and like in general, like MLB, like you mentioned with how the trade deadline has become, deadlines for actions, and like the rare exception, like the Rafi Devers trade, you're not going to see much action outside of like the week of the deadline.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next guy. Next guy I have up, and he has come here and he's shot out like a lightning bolt and been the White Sox best pitcher the last 2 months, and that's Adrian Hauser. Adrian Hauser, what's a good team fit for Adrian Hauser, Alex Rude?
I think this reminds me a lot about like our Fetty discussion from last year. Because speaking of bright spots, Hauser has gone and completely revitalized his career, going from being so bad last year, not only able to get a minor league deal, and then not getting called up by the Rangers, which is how the Gets was able to get him. I don't think the current performance is sustainable, so I think the return is going to be hurt. Like, look, by that, it's just like looking at the K rate, it's incredibly low. He has had incredible luck with home runs and like fly balls. I think like it's a 4% home run rate on fly balls, which is insanely low. So definitely not sustainable there. Although the velo was up, so there's a good chance that he just ends up going back to the solid back end of the rotation pitcher he was for the Brewers. But like I said, touching on like with Fetty, the team trading for him isn't gonna be making this move to use him in the playoffs. He's the guy that helps you get there, eats innings along the way, just so they can get to that point. So, but that doesn't bring in a lot of value. So I don't think it's going to be much of a return. I think the Fetty return was helped last year by including like Kopech and Pham. But I think the like 80th and 90th percentile outcome would be a return like we got for Fetty last year.
Right. Well, you're and that style of return is you have one post type prospect who's out of options. So they got to be on your roster immediately in theory playing. So you can't hide them in the minors. And then maybe you get a flyer or two that are way further down. And they have limitations of some sort. So like Jarrell Perez, even though he hits the shit out of the ball, he's second base only. And so you don't have a lot of utility with the defense there. So like you can get something usable for him, but it's not going to be it's not going to be as big as it looks from the performance he's been in.
So in terms of fits, teams like the Astros, Blue Jays, Cubs, Giants, like all just struggling to getting by until the playoffs. Blue Jays now in a division fight. I think they all make sense as potential fits that have a need for starting pitchers. I would have included the Mets, but like I said, he was so bad with the Mets last year. I don't think there's any chance
they're scared off.
He gets added,
Well, I was going to ask this question because you had mentioned it right off the gate, and it's something that Treasy and I had talked about, is bifurcating the starters into guys who are the game 1 or 2 starters versus everybody else, kind of the rest of it. Do you think it's possible, though, that because Hauser's stuff has ticked up a little bit, that there might be a team a little out of the group you mentioned that might be a little more desperate that would use them? It would use him higher up in the rotation in a playoff series? Or do you think it's pretty much, look, he's pegged as one of these back-end guys. He's performing great, so good. That should push it up as high as it can, but he's not really that big of a priority to anybody.
If a team was in a situation where they're starting Adrian Hauser game 1 of a playoff series, they're probably not making the playoffs. Just going to be brutally honest. Like, no offense to Adrian, but like maybe it's just like the emphasis on swing and miss and strikeouts is so like prevalent in today's game. I just really can't see a team sending out a guy with like a 6K per 9 to start game 1 of a playoff series.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement there. All right. So do you think he gets traded? Yes or no?
Yes.
That might be the easiest one in my opinion. Yeah. Even though the White Sox do need starts, he seems like the most obvious guy, most usable across lots of different rosters, just given the profile there. So not surprised that you would go yes there. Let me get to this drink from Bologna. Bologna says, "Salud, muchachos." You want to hear me say it? I'm going to get muchacho back in there. Don't worry about it. Bologna, appreciate you, my friend. All right, let's move on to possibly the most popular trade target on the White Sox. Maybe not the most popular for other teams, but most popular for White Sox fans. That's Luis Robert Jr. Alex, there is still interest in Luis Robert Jr. as bad as he's been, the last 1.5 MLB seasons. Who are teams that are best fits?
Yeah. Just talking about Luis right now, just was looking at his numbers. I think just one stat blew my mind. I feel like every time I think his value can't get any lower, he manages to do it. Since August 1st of last year, basically a full year, Robert has a 584 OPS. That's the lowest in baseball among qualified hitters. Ugh. Literally the worst hitter in baseball the past year. And it's not even like it's a small sample. That's an entire year.
It's an entire year, right?
Of at-bats, and with how bad, just to put in perspective, how bad Vargas was last year, he still has like a 30-point OPS advantage on Robert over the past year.
Oh my goodness! Even after being that, those last 2 months were horrendous. Yeah,
gosh, that's just how bad Robert's been. But as far as like potential fits, I first want to thank John Heyman for doing all the work for me on this one. He put out an article last night, and where he mentioned 8 teams did call to check in on him, and then listed fits. He mentioned the Phillies, Dodgers, Padres, Royals, and Mets. Luis Roberts' agent, for anybody that doesn't know, is John's best friend of Scott Boras. So I think that list is probably a pretty accurate list of the teams really interested and could end up going for him. It's just like what it all is going to come down to is the return.
Yeah, that makes sense of that. And then so what is likely for what Luis Robert is today? Today, what he is he's an average-ish defender in center field. He's not the very plus defender that he once was. Still a good glove, but not a great glove. And a terrible hitter, as you mentioned, Alex. However, when you buy in lower like this, and he's not going to cost as much as he would have costed then in 2023. He's just a guy at this point with a glove. You play the variance game. You buy guys who you think could give you a little something for short bursts of time. And Luis Roberts still has a ton of power. He doesn't get to it very often. He did get to it on Friday in the doubleheader in Game 1. He smoked a home run against Cleveland. But so what does that type of player in this market generally return?
I think it's an interesting discussion because I think each of the times we've done this discussion, I think last year in the winter and now, the conversation basically has been the same from all I've read on the reporting on it. It's the White Sox value Robert very highly and are basing their ask on his potential. That 2023 season, him getting back to it. The teams, they don't buy that. They value him based on his results, the bad hitter who's injury prone. So it's really just became a standoff. Whether he does get traded, if he does get traded, I'm not sure what they could even get back. They would have to eat a lot of money there and for them to get anything of value at this point. And I know that the reports out there that they would eat money in any deal for him or Benintendi, but I'll have to see it to believe it just because of how they've operated all these years.
Right.
So like maybe they get lucky getting like a top 20 prospect from somebody, like organizational wise, not MLB top 20. But
Right.
other than that, the value's so low, it's like hard to imagine they get anything.
So does he get traded, Alex? Yes or no? You think Luis Robert gets traded? Yes or no?
I think that if he does end up getting traded, it's going to take either Gets asking, lowering the asking price or someone needing it and getting desperate enough. Does that happen? I lean no. I think the
Okay.
offers will remain underwhelming for Gets and the front office's point of view. Trading him at this point would just be selling low and trading him just to trade him. There is value in just getting him out and freeing up money, but is that more valuable than the potential if he does eventually figure it out? Like you guys have talked about on the podcast, there's not really much of a difference in like what they could get for him in the off season versus now if they traded him
Right.
then. So might as well at least try and see if he figures it out at some point this year, so you have some value back. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I have no clue on this one.
That one's totally yeah. I was going to ask about the Ishbia money going along with the trade, and I kind of agree with you. I want to believe that's something that's a possibility, but until it actually happens, I'm not going to say anything. Now, my other thought here was with regards to Luis's, there's no prospect beating down the door to play center field either. And so do you think it's even a possibility that the White Sox say, look, we didn't get what we wanted here, and maybe if Luis even plays a little better the last 2 months, they say, look, we can gamble on a lot of stuff. Let's gamble $20 million on Luis Robert in 2026. Do you think that's a possibility and part of the org chart here? Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like the same thing. It's like, might as well. What else are you going to spend that on?
Right. Yeah. What are you going to do? Buy a couple relievers? I mean, like, come on. Like, what's the? He's probably I don't know if he's a good gamble, but I'm interested to see if they would think that way. Should potentially take that.
Yeah.
Gamble. So be cool to see. All right. Next up is probably one of my favorite relievers in this bullpen. It's been a ragtag bunch the last 2 years, and he got non-tendered or he got DFA'd in the offseason, but he's back up at the top of the pecking order here. And that's Steven Wilson. Alex, best teams for Steven Wilson.
Yeah, the former Uber driver turned big leaguer has definitely had an interesting 2025. Like you said, he was DFA'd this spring, and the interest was so low they were able to get him to be outrated to Charlotte. So far, the results have been good, although the underlying numbers there suggest regression could be on the way. So I'm not sure how long the 2 ERA will hold. That being said, he could be useful. Him and the next guy we're going to talk about is reliever depth of teams that need help with the middle innings. Like, that's somewhat useful, which is definitely an important piece to have in the regular season, kind of like with like Hauser eating innings. I'm just not sure if they could get anything remotely valuable for him.
Okay,
and
so I'm gonna say, so we're looking at a very, very low end return. Could be like some older reliever prospect that's out of
exactly.
that's a Rule 5 eligible or something that you kind of got to protect or whatever. Interesting. My thought here with this guy and the next guy that we're going to talk about after him in a second is their location over stuff pitchers, and those guys tend to not generate as much interest, excitement, etc. But they move at the deadline because, as you mentioned, you need 13 relievers to get to the end, and then you need a lot of relievers in the playoffs. You're going to go shorter rotation. Some starters don't stay in the game very long; they go one time through the order, and so you're going to end up using a lot of relievers, and so the teams end up needing them. So with Steven Wilson, do you believe he gets traded? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no, just because I'm not sure there's a market for Steven. Like, unlike when we talked about reliever trades previously, he's old.
Yep.
He's already in arbitration. So, like, he already had so little of a market once. Like, if there was genuine interest there, I feel like somebody would have taken the chance on him when the Sox DFA'd him. But the next guy, I think there's a chance he could have a market, but I'm not so sure about Wilson. And like you said about needing guys to like eat innings and fill innings, the Sox also need guys to fill the innings the rest of the year. So I think that it may be a question of like which is more valuable to the Sox, closing out this year, having someone like bodies there to close it out, or whatever low-end reliever prospect they get back.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't seem to be in a spot there either where it's like, well, we got 3 guys that we would love to promote, but we have them blocked right now. There's none of that really in the system, so it makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next guy who you think might be a slightly better fit for another team. That's Brandon Eisert.
Yeah.
Who are team fits here potentially?
No, yeah, Ice's season, like I mentioned with Wilson, like the results don't match the underlying numbers. It's kind of similar, except reverse. Ice's underlying numbers are better than the results. It's probably because he has reverse splits and Venable is too much like Bochy and stuck with the lefty like
Yep.
thoughts. But I think that could help for better results in a different situation. But that being said, he is also like a soft tossing lefty. There's not many teams clamoring for guys that barely hit 90 with the fastball. I
Right.
think he'll have more of a market than Wilson just because there are teams that have specific needs for a left-handed reliever like the Giants and the Mets and the Mariners. But I'm not sure how high that demand is. But working in his favor, he's cheap. He's under a year of service time. But working against him is like this is a guy we picked up on waivers after the Rays gave up on him this spring.
Right.
It's like the Rays can't figure it out. Like how other orgs think. It's like I think there's what can we do? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned he barely hits 90 with the fastball, but it is still 25% K rate and only 5.5% walk rate. So like you said, the underlying metrics are good with the Brandon Ice. He's hit a little bit of bad luck with the White Sox, bad ball luck, etc. So for him, what does the return look like? Is it like we mentioned with if Steven Wilson moves too, where it's just going to be something low end flyer type, or you think a little more?
I think because just the value of the left-handedness, like I think the return if he gets dealt would be like they'll try to aim for a Tanner Banks return last year, but he doesn't have like the track record. Though Tanner's was brief, he at least had some record of like being able to have some success in the big league. So I don't think they'll get to that, but I think that's like a good baseline to compare it to.
Absolutely. I think that definitely makes sense. And do you think he goes? Does he get traded or not? Brandon Ice, traded or no?
Coin toss, I think no. Just because the emphasis on the velo.
Okay. You think he ends up staying too? All right. Okay, let's get to a couple of Teresa East specials here. Number one, Andrew Benintendi. Alex Rude, what's a good team fit for an Andrew Benintendi in trade?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Benintendi has been solid this year. It's nothing too special, but that's a big improvement for him year over year compared to the first couple of years of the contract. He started to figure out things towards the end of last year using the same August 24 to now sample. I think his WRC plus is around 115 since then. And he's stabilized overall this year is like a league average bat. The defense is still pretty bad out there in left. So that kind of limits the market. So that's why I wouldn't throw him in the same bucket as Hawkman for the Astros because he's one of the few people worse than Altuve out there. But I think if he does get traded, there's one team that makes complete sense, and that would be the Padres. Left field is one of their few glaring weaknesses, and adding him would be an improvement both offensively and defensively over what they have, which is like the only team where that applies. I believe I saw their left fielders this year have a combined OPS around 600. Benintendi's at like 730 this year. That's like a 125 point improvements. And like I mentioned, they're throwing Gavin Sheets out there in left. It's not like they have anybody worth a damn defense wise out there either. So that's a wash. So I think it would be like adding Benintendi would be an improvement for them. But the thing is, the one thing going against them, besides the contract that makes it really hard, is just Preller loves making splashes. Benintendi doesn't really sound like a splash. It's more like a last minute backup option than anything for them.
Right. Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. Now, if you were to trade Benintendi, I'm under the assumption, Alex, that you believe the Ishbia money would need to go along with, at least in some capacity, given that he has 2 remaining years at $15 million a piece. Is that correct?
Yeah. And this year too, so it comes out to like $35 million left total.
Oh, got it. Okay,
I think the best. There is a great example for what a package would look like from this past offseason with what the Cubs did with trading Cody Bellinger to the Yankees. They ate some money, got a reliever back, DFA'd the reliever. The end goal here is just getting that contract off the books.
Right.
I don't think they'll get anything worth a damn in the return, but like I said, getting that contract off the books. And
if they can get some of the money away. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And now left field is different with regards to the ability to use the playing time because you can find a lot of bats out there that you might want to try out in left field and utilize that playing time. It's different for me than center field with Luis, where you don't have a center fielder because you don't want to just throw a guy in center field, especially with a young pitching staff. But in left field, you can try a lot of things. So I think not only freeing up the money, but freeing up the plate appearances, the opportunity risk, the opportunity here is very valuable. So bottom line, do you think he gets traded this deadline or no, Alex?
I'm going to say no here. I'm sure the Sox are going to try as hard as they can to make it happen, but that contract makes it too tough. Like you said, there's 35 million left on that deal. Unlike Robert, where you have the outs with the options, there's no outs there. So like to move him, it won't be just eating some money. It's probably going to need to be like 15 to 20 million to include with him to make it happen. And like I said with Robert, I'll see it when I believe it.
Well, no, we got a serious ownership group coming through if it actually happens here. All right, now this is Treasy's BFF. He was trying to tell me how tradable this guy is. I told him he's full of shit. And we're even in a group text with one of our oldest friends, and he was also in disagreement with me. He's like, "Oh no, this guy's tradable. You don't know what you're talking about, beef." And that is Lenyn Sosa. Alex Rude, give me the best team fits for Lenyn Sosa.
Don't get me wrong, Lenyn has made some big improvements this year. He's been playing a lot better than like past years. And it does help that he's been in AAA so much. He has like only a year of service time. But however, I was so confused seeing him on the list. He's not getting traded. Nobody's going to want him. I mean, I don't think any contender has enough of a need for a utility guy to trade for one. So his best fit is still with the White Sox.
Utility guy does not play short, barely plays second. Right-handed, almost 0% walk rate. That's utility guy. What team really is desperate for this? Is what I want to know.
I know you're probably in the machine has been pushing out the Brooks is the White Leore contact, but if there's somebody in the White Sox org that is the true heir to Leore's place in our hearts, it's Sosa. He has more power than Leore, sure, but 95% WRC plus 20% K rate, 3% walk rate. That's vintage Leore. That is vintage Leore.
He's very fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've not been a Lenyn Sosa believer, but I enjoy when he's up there hacking and he hits 2 home runs the other night. He's fun when he's swinging a lot like that. I don't mind watching it. So all right, I think we're in agreement there. I apologize I had to put them in there because of Treasy. I got one more, and then I want to let you take a stab, and then I got one last one for us to talk about. So the last regular one here is Aaron Savali. He started on Sunday. He should have won that game on Sunday. A lot of hijinks in and around that start that they ended up losing that. But Alex Rude, who's a team fit for an Aaron Savali?
I thought about this. I'm just not sure if there's any contenders interested in him. It was worth taking the shot when they did. It lined up perfectly. Might as well take the chance. You just hope you could give more than Vaughn for him back at the deadline. Yep. It just didn't work out. Oh well. I'm not sure if anyone would want him with how he's pitched, but if they do move him, what would make sense is for any team not in contention that needs guys that just to eat innings and fill innings through the second half of the season, reach out and try to get them. But I think those teams in that spot most likely will just wait until after the deadline and see, and call gets his bluff of whether he DFAs him.
Right, and potentially see who might get DFA'd off of some contending teams. Somebody's probably holding a crappy 5-starter right now that they're going to dump after they make trades here or whatever. So yeah, I kind of agree.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with you there. Yeah, Sam Reeves says whoever's the best cash considerations will get some. Yeah, nobody. I don't think anyone. I think it'll be DFA. I think he has more value. Well, I did think he had more value making starts for the White Sox. Then I see his fat ass not cover first base there, and then give up the gopher ball to go up the lead. And I thought, I wonder how much the team is looking at this like this is the bad example we don't want here with these young guys. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening with him. I agree with you. I don't think the trade value is deep, but I think if they could find a way to get him off the roster, I think they might. It's kind of interesting here. Let me get to a drink. Go ahead, Alex.
Maybe they can get your guy Andrew Vaughn back.
We'll put him in left field after they trade Benintendi. All right, let's get this drink from Joey P. Joey P says, Hermano, Alex Rude, spin that hot fire knowledge. Thank you, Joey P. Bless your heart. All right, Alex, I'll let you pick one out of the blue. Someone that you want to break down. Go for it.
Going back to what I said about Haven, shout out to Dennis Lynn, reporter for the Padres that made this easy. I'm going with Corey Lee.
Nice.
One of the last pieces acquired by Han on his way out. Lee is someone's been given so many chances to figure it out, and nothing's quite clicked in the big leagues. Now T and Carroll are in the fold, and he's obviously now the odd man out. So you might as well try and see if you get anything back from him at this point. In terms of best fits, we're going back to a team we talked about earlier because this one was easy. There's a reason the Padres are interested. You thought their left field situation was bad. Their catchers have been horrendous, even worse. It literally isn't crazy of a thought to be an upgrade on what they have. I know most people listening or tuning in don't pay attention to the Padres enough to know how bad it is. So I'll put it in terms that everyone can understand about, just to show how bad it is. Old friend Martin Maldonado's there. He's their primary catcher. He's played 56 games for the Padres so far this season. Last year, he was DFA'd by the worst team of all time, the 2024 Chicago White Sox, after 48 games last year. He's already surpassed his playing time that he did on a rebuilding team, worst team of all time, last year, this year, on a team that's supposed to be contending.
My gosh. Holy shit. So he would be going there to replace Maldonado, which is kind of what he was doing last year. It's just absolutely crazy.
Everything comes full circle, baby.
Now, I saw that the White Sox claimed Blake, is it Blake Sable? Blake Sable. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's weird, And then this news comes out. Corey Lee's potentially getting eyeball. In some ways, it makes sense. He has enough experience in the majors where teams have seen him. Like, okay, that's an okay backup catcher type guy. Mm-hmm. Those guys move. I mean, the White Sox earlier in the season were able to move the backup catcher. Why not try and do it again? What do you think happens? Are we getting another Drew Baker type if we move him?
I think so. You beat me to it, but the second I saw that Blake Sable pickup, I was like, I was like, I think Getz chipped his hand there. It was like, because there's no other reason to pick him up. So I was like, yeah, I think they're gonna try and move him. They'll probably only get a low-level prospect, or maybe another org's equivalent to him. They'll have open at-bats available in the big league second half. It's might as well.
Yeah, worth the gamble. And then he's ostensibly blocked here. I mean, even if the White Sox end up doing something that has been talked about a little bit in the ether, trading one of these prospect catchers in the offseason for a different positional player, he's not going to be the primary guy, even if he were here. He's going to be a guy who would be getting very little playing time regardless. So it would be a nice opening for him, I would think, no doubt. So, All right, one last one I want to hit. And I've been putting this out there a little bit on the 108 podcast, and I didn't even realize that I was channeling your fucking Jimmy Lambert theory with this. But I told Teresi, I said, I've been reading the tea leaves of Banny, and I can tell that Banny, he likes this guy, but maybe not the hugest fan of this guy, and that's Grant Taylor. Alex Rude, is there any shot in the world that the White Sox would do the unthinkable and trade Grant Taylor at this trade deadline?
At first, when I saw him on the list, I thought it was crazy to include him. But the more I thought about it, the more and more, flipping him would be an interesting way to get assets for an organization that needs to add both quantity and quality to the system. Despite the improvements, much love to our friends at Future Sox, there's still a lot of work to be done in the minor leagues and the org, both majors and minors. It's still pretty far away from any true competitive window. So right. It's it would be a good way to get quality assets that in a good amount that's outside the box. I thought it would be a very interesting idea, but I think a trade like that's an off-season trade. I don't think anything lines up where a team has a need for someone with his upside, because that top of the rotation upside is very real and very I know Bannister is not the biggest guy in him, but the upside is, you can see it, why people think he would be a great starter. So I don't think they go through with it now, but it could definitely be something they explore down the line.
Yeah, I agree with you that if they were going to do something kind of outside the box here, that it'd be more beneficial in the offseason, in the idea that absolutely everyone could be available for said type of trade. Yeah. But I saw he's been pushed up here. He's they're showing what he can do, basically, which is very impressive. I mean, we watched a little bit. I put a comment out there yesterday. I wish he wouldn't give up runs so often. I wish he would. I wish he would be less. I wish he'd be more dominant, like he should be, but he hasn't been. That's just the fan in me. But he's been very good.
Exactly.
The stuff is obviously tremendous, and so But I thought about it from the perspective of like, Banny was not shy in trading Gregory Santos a bunch of times. So I thought that this is kind of like the same, not the same thing, but you got a guy with a lot of good stuff. He talked a lot about the potential injury risk here in this situation and why they're playing this the way they are. And it's like, that really opened my eyes, not only for its honesty, but for how true this type of thing is. Who wants to take the gamble? Who wants to take this big risk? And it's not a free roll here. And so I appreciate you entertaining the idea.
Exactly. It's just like why it doesn't work now. It's like because like it doesn't really line up for someone that had the assets to give to want him and wants the ups. It's probably going to be a contending team, but the contending team isn't going to just want a bullpen arm that has the upside on the front of top of the rotation starter that he could be. It's like the White Sox. Not many people do the crochet sale like White Sox put him in the bullpen, then make him a starter path.
Right.
It's like they do that for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. All right. Enough of the trade assets. Let's jump off to a couple other things. We had some stuff on the agenda. You shot me a couple other thoughts. So let's rip through these questions here. The trade deadline settles. Everything's done. Which incumbent White Sox player, either on the 26-man or otherwise, is going to benefit most from whoever gets traded at this deadline?
Okay, this is a cop-out answer because it's not specifically deadline related. It's going back to my thought about Colson, Montgomery, and like Charlotte. I'm going with Colson, just like me, like trolling aside about like the Charlotte, like in the yips and stuff. Like just getting up to the big leagues probably is like a big mental hurdle. Like imagine being anointed as like the next big thing for an organization for years, and then all these guys come in and beat you to the majors from the trade. Like 3 guys come in and already get promoted before you. Seeing that, it's like it's probably that's like tough to deal with mentally. Not gonna lie,
sure.
It's like that probably led to him pressing, which was probably a big source of his issues down in Charlotte. I think just having him have multiple months in Chicago, being able to play out and like proving to himself he could do this and play in the majors is a lot more beneficial than any trade away. Any guys getting traded away could help others.
Okay, so you're not picking my guy Dominic Fletcher that he's going to get playing time once they trade a few outfielders. I started looking down the list. I'm like, oh man, old friend Corey Julks is hanging around out here. Dominic Fletcher's still here. Who's going to get some playing time that doesn't really deserve it, but they're going to get it anyway later on?
I haven't checked recently. Is Julks still raking down there in Charlotte?
I don't think so. I haven't. You know how I gauge this? If I happen to see a lot of videos rolling through of the player, then I know they're hitting well. If I don't hear from, I heard nothing about Brian Ramos, and so I put the milk carton thing out of him, and he had 2 home runs the next day. It was crazy. Yeah. But that's how I know if someone's not hitting, it's because I ain't seen no videos of them getting pumped out there. The propaganda has gone back down. So
it's got to be bad if Nazis isn't putting out the propaganda. All love to him.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. He said, I gave him some shit in an article last year about him calling Brooks Baldwin and Luis Rice. He took it like a champ. I respect the guy. Respect him very much. That's why
I mentioned him, because I know he'll realize I'm just fucking around.
It's all fun, baby. All right. Last time we were on this together was in the off season, and we talked quite a bit about Will Venable. And when we discussed Will Venable, one of your points was it was going to be tough to evaluate him based on record this year. But your thought was, as long as he doesn't embarrass the team on a national level, he'll be considered a success for you. So does losing the DH in Texas qualify as embarrassing us on a national level, or no? Are you still good with him?
I'm still good with that one. It's like I've talked to Sean throughout the year. Like my only real gripe with Will, like how he manages things, because I know he hasn't been given a lot to work with.
Yeah,
you can tell that Bochy has impressioned the lefty left on him, because throwing Brandon Isert out there against lefties with his reverse splits so many times has worked. Is blown up in his face repeatedly, but other than that, it's like it's been pretty good, and like it's like good as you can expect. Like it seems like everything is like better culture wise. He isn't throwing players under the bus like Pedro, even though he lost the DH. That he isn't like Tony not realize he had to put Liam in as a pinch runner.
Right.
It's just like he's just flying under the radar. It's like the best thing for like a manager to do is like just not really like be the story.
Right.
In the past years, Pedro and Tony were the stories. This year, it seems rightfully that the stories have shifted over to all the young players, and Will's just there in the background, which is good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I'll hear complaints about Will, et cetera. And a lot of the stuff is just like, well, why isn't this guy hitting here? Why didn't you bring that arm in? It's like you're dealing with a lot of bullshit of a roster here. Like, you know, there's limitations to how much I could say. Oh, well, maybe this should have been done or whatever. So I'm not saying I'm giving him a grace, but I thought that. You know, I thought he's doing a pretty good job so far. I don't agree with everything, but reasonably well. I mean, definitely a lot better than Pedro. Pedro, I would hate almost everything the guy did. So I'm in agreement with you there. Next up, we talked about Walker McKinnon last time we chatted, and I want to ask you: is Walker McKinnon the biggest upgrade to the day-to-day White Sox baseball product?
I'm not sure like the impact each person like has on like the daily product, but I'm kind of lean yes because like it's been a lot better. He seems like a good right hand man for like helping along. I remember when he got hired, like it was a lot of praise. Like we talked about last time, Robert, we're in the Discord, big Brewers guys, knows everybody over there. It's like the Brewers were upset that they lost McKinnon to us, and like it was generally regarded as a very good hire. That's very rare for the White Sox to get that. So it's like you got to know that this guy's pretty good. If even the White Sox hiring him off the worst record of all time is getting praised. So I think like there's a lot of like the behind the scenes we don't know, but I feel like somebody is well regarded like that. It's got to be one hell of an upgrade.
Absolutely. Now, do you think he's going to be have his hat in the ring the next time a manager job is opening, or do you think he's still enough in the background on a poor enough team that we're going to have him for a while here?
Not this year, but in the next 2 to 3 years, if the White Sox continue to show improvement, I can definitely see him being like added to lists of like the future managers as somebody who could potentially get poached, which is a very good problem to have. It's like, when was the last time the White Sox had somebody poached from their coaching staff to like get promoted
or front office? Yeah, it feels like never. It feels like this never happened. So it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I want to talk a little bit about the draft here. I just want to throw this in here. The White Sox selected Billy Carlson, shortstop out of Corona, California, with their first pick. That was number 10 overall. And then they came back and got local kid Jaden Foscue, I think his name is. I heard different pronunciations, but I'll try that one. An outfielder from Nazareth at 44 overall. What do you want to say about the draft day hype so far? The first 2 picks, Alex.
Just an annual reminder to like calm down on like the hype. The MLB draft is like such a crapshoot to begin with. Then you add in like this is like one of the worst drafts like in recent memory. I was listening yesterday to Joe Doyle's like pre-draft Q&A. Somebody asked him if he thinks anybody in this class could ever reach 30 career WAR, and he leaned towards no. He was struggling to think of anybody that could ever reach that mark. He did mention though Billy Carlson could be one if he puts everything together, but it's also an emphasis on the big if he puts everything together.
Right.
Good benchmark. You know, in the last 15 years, how many players at pick number 10 have reached 10 career B-WAR?
No, I do not.
1, Michael Conforto. That's it.
Wow.
Baseball Reference has a great tool where you can look up like all the picks at a certain pick number or round by team. It's like, the past 15 years is like Zach Collins is like in the median 50% of the number 10 picks.
Really?
So like, so like even if like Billy like things hit, he gets like 10, 15 career WAR, like turns into Yohan Moncada or Luis because they both have like 15 career WAR. That's a top 2-3 outcome over the past 15 years. It's just like, I wouldn't go into like thinking that these guys are going to be superstars and everything, because that was kind of like what hampered Vaughn was like the expectations. It's just like, there's a good chance he busted. Like Sean and I bought in, thought he would be pretty good. But obviously things didn't work out. But that's typical for the MLB draft. Like if you look at like using that tool, it's like the only real pick that there's like correlation to be like good and picking that higher is like picks 1 and 2. And after that, it's just like a big drop off because all the different teams, like with how the draft is structured with the signing bonuses, it's just like, it's not like the other leagues where every pick is just based on like best player available needs and everything. It's like the scope of the entire draft needs to be taken into account. So
Right. It's like each team has a salary cap that they can spend, and they're going to spend it in a variety of different ways. It's confusing to explain to people how that works. But you're right. It's not right in order. It's not the NBA draft or NFL draft where the best players are going to kind of go right in order like that. You're absolutely right there. So my only thought after it, I was hoping that they would get the kid that they got at number 10, only because I feel like the White Sox don't really have a shortstop in the pipeline. That's a shortstop. This guy seems to be, they don't know if he'll hit enough, but the glove is going to stay there. And I like to hear that there's a carrying tool, especially a defensive one. Yeah. As I was telling Treasy before, they're trying to remake their defense and they worked on positioning and all this stuff, but they don't have a weapon on defense anywhere. They have a bunch of marginal defenders that they're shading and doing things to make them reasonable. It would be nice to have a couple of guys that were really good defenders out there to showcase it. So
yeah. I thought similarly, but I wouldn't have mind if they went underslot, just because, like I said, they need a lot of quantity in addition to the quality. So, if
more bites at the apple, absolutely. No, I don't disagree with that. And the last question you had, I don't know if this is the last thing you had. I don't know if it's a question for me or not, but you said, "Is My Sox Summer going on the Ozempic ultimately bad for the 108 brand?" Is that for me to answer that, or for you to answer?
No, it's just a discussion point. Just wanted to put that out there.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this thing. I know there are people out there, friends of ours, who like big, fat, sweaty My drunk My Sox Summer. Now he's becoming skinnier. My Sox Summer. He's less enjoyable for certain people that we know. Now, I don't know if that's going to hurt the overall brand, but the My Sox Summer brand could be hurting because of that. However, I also have heard that you can eat through the Ozempic. So I'm rooting for eating through the Ozempic by My Sox Summer. I think he can do it. The guy loves fucking cookie cake. He can't put the shit down. So I'm hoping he just like plows right through this shit and eats through it. And it's like, there's no concern.
We just need Gordo to keep feeding him brownies to make sure that happens.
Absolutely. I messaged Gordo over the weekend. There's some discussion about a drug off between My Sox Summer and White Sox Dave that could get filmed at Sox Park, so I'll let you know what happens. But we had to consult Gordo as to the levels of each thing. So if this happens, hopefully we line this up by September. It should be absolutely great.
That sounds so entertaining. Oh my God, that's a great idea.
Alex, thanks for sharing your thoughts on White Sox trade assets. Who in effect post deadline and prior notes on the coaching staff. Remember, we ain't trying to be around the show. We're just trying to understand. Anything you want to plug before you go?
No, I just want to go back to one comment. David asked if I was heading to Pittsburgh for this weekend. Unfortunately, it's my birthday on Friday, and my mom would kill me if I went out of town to see the White Sox and ignored the family dinners. So I won't be in attendance this weekend. But I hope everyone has fun. And speaking of Gordo, I hope he's doing well. Much love, Gordo. Can't wait to see you at the park soon.
Absolutely. And happy early birthday, Alex.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And happy birthday to Gabriel. He DM'd me this morning asking if you could sing him happy birthday. You want to follow through on that for him?
If I can sing happy birthday? Yeah, I'm really happy to. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gabriel. Happy birthday to you. Yes. How dare you?
I will be there, JT.
Alex, take care, my friend. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
You got it. That was Alex Root. I can't believe he got me to sing on this fucking show. God damn it. All right, next week's guest. I got no one booked right now. And actually, I'm going to take next week off. I know I've been taking some time off with the Azure, but because we're going to Pittsburgh, we're flying back. I'm going to take that Monday off. The 28th, I plan to come back. I have a couple of guests in mind, so we'll see who I end up booking, but we'll start getting solid again. More Azure guests through the end of the season. We'll probably check in with some people we've checked in with before, just because we want to hear what they think about what the White Sox are doing in 2025. Thanks to Punky's Pizza and Pasta and all the 108 families up in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you smashing the like button, comments, and of course those drinks and tips. Thanks so much. We'll see you on Thursday for the 108 podcast, and I love all of you. Bye.